Could there be a future Lexus LFA? But I tell you one thing. What we had before us is something epic. The electric Lexus LFA Successor. Hypercar performance. Can you imagine something like this going up against Rimac and Navara? Can you imagine this? You guys, this is automotive. And yes, this is what is purported to be the next Lexus LFA Successor. Now, considering Toyota CEO Akio Toyoda didn't like much of the EV world, but this being an LFA successor is one. I mean, it looks nice. It may look like that in design, but nothing can match the sound of a Lexus LFA. And they shouldn't call it LFA. Perhaps it should be called something else. Because nothing. I mean, you can't have an LFA successor that's not an internal combustion engine. It's just not going to work. You're not going to be able to create the sound that's needed in order to continue within the legacy of the LFA. We love the LFA. But the last thing we expected is for Toyota to present this along with a lot of other dozen of new electric Toyotas and Lexuses. They did it, folks. And yes, an LFA EV. I love the way this looks. And honestly, this looks epic. And if this was an EV, would you get this or would you get the Navara? Now, the Navara itself being $2.5 million. And if this is a Lexus LFA EV, you know it's not going to cost as much as that. You probably get this for like $200,000 and $250,000 or $200,000. It might even be less. But boy, this is phenomenal. Now, Akio Toyoda is responsible for Toyota not making boring cars. He's responsible for them making awesome vehicles such as the Toyota GR Yaris. And boy, these EV plans that they're coming up with is just going to be epic, folks. But let's get back on the LFA tip. This looks phenomenal. I tell you that car behind the LFA has caught my eye big time. I've always loved the Ferrari FF. And when I look at that particular car behind the LFA, I say to myself, wow. It makes me want to look closer and closer. What I used to love about the Ferrari FF was the type of stadium seating for the backseat passenger. And when I see this as being a Lexus behind it, this just makes me think that this is phenomenal, folks. This is just straight up fantastic. I mean, wow. You better get your money right, because only the wealthy are going to be able to afford these kind of Lexuses. Man. A successor? Now, if you remember the LFA back in 2013, it was awesome. They developed something phenomenal. Now, thinking about the next generation battery EV and thinking about the LFA, wow. Can you imagine such a thing? Boy, oh boy. I love Lexus, folks. And from owning an IS350 F Sport, I tell you, there's nothing like it. Now, I've driven in Mercedes, I've driven in BMWs, and driven in Porsches. But Lexus is just like precision and perfection at its best. Now, the president of Lexus International talked about the LFA successor. And he said it's going to have a solid-state battery, a range of 435 miles. It's going to accelerate to 60 in 2 seconds. boy, it's not going to be a Rimac Navara, of course. But boy, oh boy, anybody that get a taste of success that can afford a $200,000 electric car is going to love this. And you're going to feel good. You're going to feel that you got something really good, even though you couldn't afford a Navara. This is going to fulfill that. It's almost going to be, it's going to fulfill that itch. And it's phenomenal. This baby, to be an EV, that sharp styling, that all black greenhouse, the cab back design, and that beautiful hood is just fantastic. Quite awesome, folks. But I love this one right here. This is what got my attention as a shooting break. Phenomenal, folks. This is A Automotive Reviews. And yes, a Lexus LFA, Successor, the EV. And yes, it is phenomenal, folks. Thanks for watching. Remember, like, share, and subscribe, and have a fantastic day.